Yeah.
Can
It's
I just
like,
make one last point about
hmm?
the coaching thing in the
Nah, we
playoffs?
want a whole lot of
Like,
points from you, Steve. Don't make one. Oh, on
uh,
the coaching thing. Go ahead.
all right, but the other thing is with the timeouts, like in the playoffs in particularly, it's all about runs, right? And like putting aside the fact that the Nets are obviously the overwhelmingly most talented team, assuming they're all healthy.
Right.
When you let those teams go on those runs, you have to call timeouts your only weapon sometimes to
Hmm.
stop those things. And he doesn't do it. I mean, I know he said in the past that he wants it to be like soccer where the guys play through it and stuff, but you gotta have that instinct. We all know it as a fan when you're
He
watching.
got
You're
that
like,
from
if this guy
D'Antoni,
hits the
though.
if this guy hits a three here, call a timeout. Like we
Hmm.
all feel it as fans, and I feel like he doesn't have that feel. And I don't know. I just think that like you're right. The Nets are probably the most talented team. It might not matter, but wouldn't it
Not
be
probably.
also
We are.
better to have a good coach? Like, wouldn't it also be better to have a coach that like it's also good skill wise? Like, I don't see how that would hurt.
Here's an argument for the both of you. Can you
All right.
agree? Can you guys agree? And then we'll close out this coaching thing after you guys answer this. Can you guys
Okay.
agree that that this is the type of team that potentially, you can't say anything for sure unless it really happened, but potentially this is the type of team that a coach would have fucked it up more than a coach would have made it up. Like I believe that a team with this much talent and that is this good, and I'm not just talking about the big three. I'm talking about the fact that when has there ever been a team that great championship teams have Steve Kerr, they have a Hornacek but when have you had
A
a
small
Shaman
white guy.
and a Harris with three superstars? Like it's kind of ridiculous what we're talking about right now. I
It
think I
is.
think a coach had to just keep the vibes good and the X and O's. It's like whatever. I don't know. Am I wrong, guys?
It's possible. I mean, it's possible, and I guess we're gonna find out.
Because
Yeah.
I think like
Yeah.
a
Nah.
guy like look at what Doc Rivers did to the Clippers last year. He tried to do that Celtics, Ubuntu, like, you can't coach
Yeah. In fairness to them,
Kawhi like you coach KG.
in
And
fairness to them, the bubble fucked them.
yeah, but I think that had a lot to do with coaching. I think that had a lot to do with
Yeah. You,
like,
you could argue that the
so
coaching played a role.
I think the Nets. It's no accident the Nets are historically great on offense, not just because of the players, because of the offense they play in. And if there was any X and O argument that's tangible, that's real, that you can know that this is true when we say this. Everything else we're kind of guessing or giving an opinion, but this is true. This particular offense that we're running, and it's a little different from the D'Antoni one, but it's pretty much just the D'Antoni offense. And this offense, nobody knows it better than D'Antoni and Steve Nash. Like nobody. Can we agree on that one at least?
I
Yes.
would agree on that. And I do agree with you that there were coaches in the league that could have screwed this up by trying to impose their fault, like they're micromanaging way too much on a team that doesn't need it. I think that's spot on. So, yeah, I would
Right.
agree with what you just said.
Right. And one last thing, I didn't mean to drop this one on you. The Nets do a thing that kind of the Yankees do, and it's kind of killing the Yankees right now. The Nets, the general manager kind of coaches from on high. Like they do like a global game plan. And Nash breaks out of it more than Atkinson did. Like Atkinson really was like, all right, performance team, how many minutes should this guy play? How many minutes should this guy play? And they really, really stuck to it under Atkinson. With Nash, it's a little bit more fluid, but still, it's really a coach by organization type of thing going on with the Nets. Do you think that kind of helps Nash or hurts Nash? Or helps the team, rather?
I mean, they're winning. It's hard to say. Well, I mean, they're 21 games over 500.
Have
Yeah,
we
I
ever
mean,
been 21 games over 500?
Hmm. I think they're 41 and 20.
Yep, that's exactly what they are. Phil Jackson once said, "If you get to 40 wins before you get to 20 losses, that's how he knows he had a championship team. I think we got to 20 losses before. I think we were 39-20, but
Yeah, we
I
won
don't
two
think
straight.
I don't think that that premise is wrong, and I think the Nets would be way better if one of Harden or KD didn't get hurt as long as they have.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's a strong 41-20 because it's a 41-20 that had guys missing numerous games in a schedule that's so packed in. A lot of the Nets losses, if you really think about it, we're we're in a back-to-back. We're not going to kill this guy, so he's taking the night. And they basically, a lot of them just took a loss. So if you really think about
They
it,
punted on a few games.
yeah, the 41-20 is like a lot stronger than it actually even appears because in a normal season where, well, I guess they've probably won some games on back-to-backs against teams too that were punting, as Matt said. But either way, they've been decimated with injuries. There's no way around it. Every guy, you feel like, except for maybe Joe Harris, never got hurt.
Yeah,
Yeah, Joe's played
That's
every
the
game.
Iron Man.
So
And just think about this, the offensively, like Harris, Shamet, Griffin, Green, and even to an extent DeAndre and Brown, they all score like efficiently off the ball too. They're all like efficient shooters. So like in their limited opportunities, they make the most of them.
Yeah, that they really do, and now we have like we not only did we keep winning through those injuries, but we turned the entire team over basically. Like we changed 3 spots in our starting 5, and and we still kept winning. Like it's a little ridiculous what this team is capable of, and I forget how good we were with just Kyrie and KD because of how good Harden was when he came in. I mean, like I think it's almost hard to do a podcast because it's just so much joy all the time. But these are serious things like the coaching and the health. But I just don't see anybody beating this team.
It's the
a
healthy
gel
thing. The one seed is so important,
right,
to avoid both Milwaukee and Philly having to play both of them. That's huge. You could be looking at a second round opponent that's some like the Knicks, the Hawks, the Celtics, someone like that. I would, you're gonna win that series in probably 5 or 6 games.
Yep.
Right, then you can spend your time gelling with an easier opponent instead of having to gel against the Bucks. That's a little bit riskier, you know what I mean? Like, because you still guys got to play together. I mean, I get it, but I get how good they are. But that's the thing to me is like, can you really patch a team together in like a 25 to 30 game playoff span that can beat the Lakers? That's where, putting the Nash thing aside, like that's where I think like the question mark is. And scoring goes down in the playoffs. Scoring always goes. I'll say the third time, scoring goes down in the playoffs.
Yeah, but that's relative. So will their opponent scoring.
Yeah, but a team with a better defense, right, who is going to be more able to adjust to that different style of play.
Has there been a team? Has there been a team this year that looked like they can stifle us?
No.
There hasn't been how like great teams will have that random game that one really really good team sends them a message of we could beat you on the day. Like the Nets played the Heat this week and we lost by 2, but even in that game that we lost, it was like I was looking at it and going,
game.
Yeah, but I still thought they came into the game, they didn't give a fuck, and most of it was just Kyrie by himself, and they still look like the better team that just kind of let go of the rope.
Yeah, they should have won that game, right? I know what you're saying.
And have we lost the game by I mean, how many games? I'm gonna look this up for next week, man. How many games have we lost by double digits? Not many.
Very few.
And if you exclude those games where they just punted on and weren't really playing anybody, it's probably you can count them on one hand, I'd say.
Yeah. But even the games that we punted on, like out of nowhere, Bruce Brown has like some kind of revival and loses his mind and keeps the game close. I really just don't even have any idea of like what another team is going to do to beat us. Like before, I used to be scared of if a team tries to dribble drive to the rim and score every time like a Giannis does or like a LeBron does or an AD does, we'd be in trouble. But the weird thing about the Nets, that's exactly what we want you to do because DeAndre Jordan can't move. He wants you to meet him at the rim. And
Right.
if everyone's going to try to like have a jump shooting contest, I don't care if it's finals, I don't care if it's preseason, I don't care if it's regular season playoffs. Nobody wants to get into a jump shooting contest with the Brooklyn Nets. That's straight death for your team.
The flaw is the defense. That's where you could see, like, if you were going to say, well, what's the path to the Nets not winning the finals outside of like obvious things like injury? The path would probably be, well, their defensive problems get magnified as they play better teams in the playoffs, and the opponents they play are defensively stronger, and that's enough to bridge the gap. That's the only path I could see of them not winning the finals, is if their defense is a complete, Achilles heel like it was for much of the early part of the season,
right,
then they would not win the NBA title if that was the way they were playing defense right now. I guess that's how I'd put it.
I agree with that. I'm gonna pitch this to you, Bam. Tell me if this analysis is wrong. DeAndre Jordan sucks against every team except the ones we can beat. Meaning, Embiid is, because he could shoot from outside, he's gonna have somewhat of a field day with DeAndre Jordan, but if his shot is off, he meets DeAndre Jordan where he's standing in quicksand. Same thing with Giannis. Giannis is not gonna do pull up, 15 footers either. That was killing DeAndre Jordan this particular game. And the Lakers, same thing. If their outside shots aren't falling, which they tend to not do, then you're meeting DeAndre at the rim. And if not, you do what like they did today where they switched in Blake Griffin and things looked really great. And mind you, we played these last couple of games without our very best defender on the team. Bam, tell me, is that analysis wrong? Like, aren't the three best teams the ones DeAndre Jordan is the best suited to guard against?
Well, definitely, because he's unique for us in terms of his body size is the only one of a traditional center. So it is weird for as much flack as he gets in those matchups where, we think we're on a collision course with Philly and ultimately the Lakers. They do have bodies that we're going to need his for. But that doesn't mean in other series he should play more than like spot minutes as a starter. Like, he doesn't make sense for us like Charlotte or plenty of other, even the Knicks, I would say. So I think Nash will have to probably just play with that depending on matchups.
Yeah,
but I want to
keep
Durant at the three. I like a big lineup. I want either Griffin or DeAndre starting, maybe even Claxton if it was the right matchup. But I still want Green and Durant at the 4 and the 3 with Harden and Irving, and then you just bring Joe off the bench.
Steve, is your brother right?
He's like 80% right. But there's still a part of me that when I hear that, like when I feel hubris, like when I hear someone say like, oh, well, we could just change the lineup and put this guy in. It's like, I've never seen that happen and succeed at the NBA level where teams just, oh, well, this guy's a starter. Oh, to this game, we can just throw him in. Like, I feel like there's just a negative part of being a Net fan to me that tells me that there's some sort of overconfidence somewhere here. But he's right what he's saying, though. And you're right what you just said about Giannis, Embiid, and even Anthony Davis, probably to a lesser extent. But you're right. Like, those are the guys that Jordan can actually play with a little bit. And those are the ones that are going to play. And he's their biggest Achilles heel on defense. So, yeah, you're right.
Right. No, and the other thing is, I would say that I heard someone make that exact same critique about the Golden State Warriors the first year when they were running the death lineup. They would go small or they would go away from from having Bogut in there because Bogut was not a stiff like DeAndre is right now, but still like they could switch to that, and the Nets can really switch to that. If I had one thing that I wish they would do, because I know it works against LeBron, I wish they used zone more. I wish they would force team to shoot over them more instead of just switching the entire game. But